Hello and welcome to another video, and I will teach you today how to send data between activities in Android Studio, as always, the easy way. So what we'll do today, this simple application has two activities, activity number 1 and number 2. Each activity has a button. When this button is pressed, we are sent from that activity to the other one. And as bonus, from the first activity, we have a plain text box, and we enter some information, some text here. When we press the button to go to the second activity, this information that was typed in will also be sent and displayed in the second activity. And we have this toast that inform us that the second or the first activity is being loaded. Okay, so let's go to Android Studio and see how we actually do it. As always, you will start by opening Android Studio. You will create a new project. Under phone and tablet, it will be an empty activity. You click Next. You can change the name, the package name, save location, and minimum SDK if you choose to do so. However, I just leave it as it is for this simple example. And the important thing is to have the Java programming language selected instead of Kotlin. You click Finish. It will take a bit of time for the project to load, and we wait. Once the project has loaded completely, we can move to the next step, and this is creating the second activity. For this, you go in the left side of the screen under the project folder. Make sure you have the Android view selected. You go for the Java file, and then where it's the package name, you click Write, go to New, Activity, and select Empty Activity. You can change the name, the layout name if you want. However, I just leave it as it is. Again, Java programming language, and then you click Finish. This will create your second activity. As you can see, you have the main activity 2 Java file, and you have activity main 2 XML file. Moving to the next step, this is creating the proper user interface of this first activity. And as you can see, at this time, we have only the Hello World text view, which is automatically placed when the project is created. We will change a little bit the text view in the way we change the text name to this is activity 1. We also want to increase the text size, so we search the size attribute. We find text size and we increase it to 34. This should be large enough. And now we need to bring the button on the screen. So we select the button, we drag and drop it. And because this is a constraint layout, we have to define the constraints of this new object of the button. We drag and drop the arrows to the edges of the screen, and then towards the bottom of the text view. Problem is that right now, these two items, these two objects are very close to each other, so we have to increase the distance between them. With the button object being selected, you just increase here to 24. This should be enough. You also want to increase the text size. So for the button, 24 should be enough. Actually, even 20, it's enough. And we change the text of the button to something like go to activity 2. I decided to increase the text size of the button a little bit more. When the user presses this button, there is an action that the application needs to perform, which is to open the new activity, activity 2. For this, there is a method that needs to be executed, so we have to give the name of this method. you type onClick here in the search bar, and then you find the onClick parameter of the button. And here you type a name, any name that you want, and I will say onClick btn1, onClick button 1. And this will be the name of the method that will be executed when we press this button. We leave it as it is for now. And then we move to activity 2. In activity 2, we have to do the same. We drag and drop a text view. This text view will have to say, this is activity 2. The text size, I believe it was 34. And we need to define the constraints of this item. So we drag and drop towards the corners of the screen, the sides, I mean, the upper and the lower. At this moment, this text view is located in the middle of the screen, considering this top part. But we also need to bring a button. We have this button. We start by doing the constraints. Then we select the button. We have the size already entered in the search bar, so we can just go to the text size attribute. We increase it to 24. Then we go to the text attribute and we change to go to activity 1, because this button will take us back to activity 1. And we give a name for the onClick method, which will be onClick btn2. So our activities should look the same. With the exception, I didn't give some space between these two. Okay. So we have one activity and the second one. Moving to the main activity Java file, now we have to code the method that will be executed to take us from activity 1 to activity 2. For this, we say public void onClick btn1 view. We click on view, then Alt Enter. We import the class. Then I will just say as follows: intent1 equals new intent this, and then main activity 2.class. So what I've done here, I've created a new intent, and of course we have to import this class as well. Here you are, you can see the classes being imported. So what I've done here, I've declared a new object, intent1, which has as parameters when created this package context, and I also indicate the activity which will be opened. In this case, activity 2. Then the only thing you have to do is say start activity. Start activity and pass the intent that carries all the necessary details. Now, if we run the code as it is and we press a button, this will take us to activity 2. However, what I want to do, I just want to add a toast message, and this toast message will say opening activity 2. So I will just say toast dot make text, and it will be this method. I'll say get application context. Then we'll say whichever text we want to display. For example, opening activity 2. And then we have to give it a duration. I believe a short toast should be enough, about 2-second time display. And of course, at the end, we say show. And that's all we have to do. I'll just copy this entire method and I'll go to the second activity. I paste it and I just change onClick button 1 with button 2. The intent 1 will become intent 2. This time we will open the main activity instead of main activity 2. Okay, the toast will say opening activity 1, and then the intent that we pass here as parameter will be the intent 2. And that's all we have to do. We just save everything. We select, if you have multiple devices, virtual devices, you select the one that you want, and then you press Run App. Our new app is already loaded in the emulator. And as you can see, we have activity 1 loaded. This is the main activity. And we have the button saying go to activity 2. When I press this button, what should happen is a toast in the lower part of the screen should be displayed saying opening activity 2. And then everything should change to this is activity 2. And the button will say go to activity 1, which means we already left activity 1 and we are in the activity 2. So let's see. So we had the toast. I don't know if you had time to see it. And now we are in activity 2 and the button says go to activity 1. If I press it, I'm going back to activity 1. I'll increase a little bit the size, so maybe you can see this better. Opening activity 2, opening activity 1. And this is the way you create multiple activities and you navigate between them. Now we can stop the emulator. And then we can go back because we need to add the next features of this application. So I will just minimize. Moving to activity 1, we go to the activity main XML file. And here, what we want to do is add a text, simple plain text object. And this will be used to get some information from the user. It can be a name, it can be a number, whatever we want to enter. And for this object, we will select attributes, size, and we will increase the text size to something like 24. We will also set the constraints, left and right. And we need to give it a bit of distance between the button above and this plain text object. Also here it says name, but we want something else. So we delete the text name and we search for hint parameter. And here we say type something. We also want to search for text and we can find text alignment and this attribute will change to center. Okay, right now we have this object and this will be used to get some information from the user and this information will be passed in the second activity where it will be displayed. And for this, we take a text view. We drag and drop it on the screen. And this text view, I will just make it a bit larger for now. And Let's search for size 24. The name will be text box. We have to change the text inside, and the text will just say no information, no data, no data received. And we say no data received because if there is no information received, this will be displayed by default. However, if we pass some sort of information, that information will replace the current content of the text view and it will be displayed instead. But as I can see, this is still quite a small size. So we'll make it even larger. We'll say 34. And then we set the constraints, left and right, and the one above. Moment. Of course, we need to have a bit of distance between itself and the button, so I will just give it 24, and this should be okay. Now moving to main activity 1, or the main activity of this application. This is what we have to do. When the button is pressed, of course, we have to open the new activity, but before we do that, we will say edit text box equals, and here we have a problem. I just realized that I didn't give an ID for the edit text. So moving back to this main activity, we select the edit text or the plain text item, and here the ID will be edit text box. This is what I choose. You can choose a different name if you desire. So moving to the main activity, we have the edit text. Then we have the name of this edit text. We say find view by ID, and this method is going to help us search in resource by ID, and we will find the edit text box. Here we are. Now we can create this intent 1, but we have to send the information through the intent to the other side, through intent1 dot put extra, and we will send a string value. So we select string name, string value, and here we have to put a pair of key and value. So the key will be like a label, and I will say input data. So this will be the label of the information that we send, and we'll say edit text box dot. We say get text, and here I have a little typo. So right now, what we do, we take the information from the edit text box, and then we convert this information to a string, and then we send this information through put extra, and this information will be received in the second activity by using this input data key or label. We keep the same toast message. And the same as before, we start the activity. Moving to activity 2. Here we have to declare a string, let's say received data. This will be equal to get intent. Then we say get string extra. And we have the label, that string name, and that was input data. Now we have to take the text view, and this was, we say text box equals find view by ID, resource ID, and here we are. Here we have to import the text view class, and we do it right now. No more error. We have to take the input data and display it in that text view. So we do it like this, text box. This is the text view object. Set text received data. The rest of the app stays the same. So let's run it and see what happens. The application is already loaded. So as you can see, we are in activity 1. We have the button going to activity 2, and type something is the hint asking us to enter some information. And let's say hello world. If we press the button, this information should be sent from activity 1 to activity 2 and displayed there. Let's see if this happens. Go to activity 2. Here we are, hello world. And we can move back to activity 1 as before. I hope you learned something new today. I hope this will be helpful for you. And until we meet next time in future videos, keep practicing and take care. See you next time.